Full stack developers today are not hired just for writing code. They are expected to design cloud infrastructure, deployments, and security too. Hi, my name is Kim, a full stack developer. I have been exactly where you are, building applications while also trying to understand AWS networking, IAM deployments, and infrastructure automation. And I know how overwhelming that can feel in today's job market. So, why AWS CDK then? Well, instead of clicking around the AWS console, we'll learn how modern developers actually build AWS resources using infrastructure as code with AWS CDK. This is how we build scalable systems, avoid configuration mismatch, and confidently deploy to production. If you are a full stack developer who wants to stand out, understand AWS properly, and build real cloud systems, this series is for you. In this AWS CDK tutorial series, I will walk you through how to define AWS infrastructure using code. We'll build everything step by step: IAM and Identity Center, VPCs, subnets, NAT gateways, load balancers, EC2, ECS, Lambda, Fargate, API Gateway, DynamoDB, S3, SQS, step functions, CI/CD pipelines, and even cross-stack references. We'll actually build a full stack applications at the end of this series. So let's get started. Welcome to this AWS CDK tutorial. And in this series, we are going to learn the AWS CDK Cloud Development Kit step by step, from installation all the way to deploying full production grade infrastructure. So this episode is mostly about setting up our required tools. Before we write any CDK code, we'll need a few tools installed and configured on our machine. So I will walk you through everything slowly. So even if you are a complete beginner, you'll be able to follow along without any issues. So here is exactly what we are going to do in this video. Install the AWS CLI. So this is the command line interface that lets us talk to the AWS from our computer. And then we set up AWS Identity Center. So this is the recommended way to authenticate for the CDK user. It is also possible to use a simple IAM user. Yeah, so we'll create a user now and sign in and configure its profile. We'll also create a group, and then we'll associate everything with the AWS organization. So don't worry if you don't know about AWS organization. We only need to activate at this point, and that's it. And then we'll go ahead and install the AWS CDK toolkit. So this is the CLI we use to generate, synthesize, and deploy CDK project. We will look into creating and initializing our first CDK project using TypeScript. This process will generate the folder structure. We'll talk about the important files and also get everything ready. Lastly, we will be doing bootstrap on our AWS environment. So bootstrapping will actually tell AWS where, in which region, and for which account the CDK project will be residing. So after today's session, we'll be ready to build a real AWS infrastructure using code. From the next video onwards, we will start creating actual resources like VPC, Lambda functions, AWS Fargate services, and of course more. So let's get started with the very first step, installing the AWS CLI. So how to install AWS CLI on different machines is a very easy and straightforward approach. There are like installation guidelines for Linux. Copy the command and paste it in your terminal. Also there are steps mentioned in the Windows environment. You can do this if you are using Windows, but since I'm using macOS, I'll be following this installation process. All you have to do is check what you are going to do. You are not probably installing this graphical user interface. In my case, I'm using this command line installer for all users. Yeah, so just copy this command and open your terminal. Let me clear paste it and hit enter. But of course I have already done this one. It will only update in my case. In your case it can take a little bit longer if you're installing this for the first time. So upgrade is successful in my case because I have already installed, so it is only upgrading it. Yeah, you can also check it, AWS version. Yeah, so AWS CLI version 2.32.1, the latest version that has been upgraded. Next step, as we mentioned, is we will configure AWS Identity Center. For that, let's go to the AWS console itself, and in my case I have IAM Identity Center already here, and you can probably bookmark this. Once you bookmark, and it will come like this on the navigation panel, so it's very easy to navigate from there. So any resources that you have been using frequently, you can bookmark from here. This is a very recommended approach that we need to use Identity Center instead of IAM user. We could also use IAM user. In this tutorial we are going to see follow exactly what the documentation says. It says that we need to use IAM recommended one, and this is because it is a very secure and it generates a temporary credential for the user automatically. So it is a kind of session based authentication. You can decide in the setting how long you want this session to remain. By default it is always 8 hours, but you can of course like minimize the session limitation or also maximize it. First thing what we are going to do here is we are going to create a user. So it can be, let's put it to CDK user, and I will just provide CDK user came at the rate so I'm using this email because this has not been associated with AWS anywhere earlier. So just in your case also, if you have already used your email, it is likely that it will not accept. I'll just simply put it CDK user like this. Well, CDK and probably user is the last name. And yeah, there are other details which are optional and not so much required for this tutorial. Hit next, and because we don't have a group created yet, so you can hit next, and yeah, you can check the details and add user. So user has been added. Yeah, so what you need to do next is you need to check your email, and you have to accept the invitation. You can provide a password. Hit enter. Yeah, and the username is CDK user, so you can use password, then sign in. Okay, so here is the authentication MFA authentication step. In my case, I have Google Authenticator installed in my device already, so I will be using authenticator app. It will generate a QR code, so it, and I will open my phone, and there we go, and I get this 6-digit code 36197. Hit enter, and your registered. It is done. Email not verified. We can refresh and check. So next step we do is we create a group. Yeah, just create a group, and group name is cdk user group. Can be anything. So add user to group. We will be adding this cdk user which we created earlier, and just create group. Yeah, it is that simple. So next up, what we do is we go to AWS account. In your case, it could be a little bit different if you have not configured AWS organization. There will be create an organization button here. You just click it and that's it. And after that you will get to see the root user and the username, so which is the main user of your root user of your AWS account, which comes along when you first create the AWS account. In my case, I have created different organizational units like so, but in your case, if you don't have any organization created, because if you are if you have just now initialized this organization, so probably you are going to click on your root account and then you assign user or groups. So it is important to assign the group because the user is already inside this group. Next. Yeah, and it is important to give this administrator access. Don't forget this one. And then create. Submit. So you have created a user, you have created a group, and you have also assigned it with the organizational unit, and that's it. What next we have to do is we have to now configure the SSO, because the main purpose is that we need to access the AWS resources from our local computer. Configure SSO cdk user, hit enter. And MFA, the one that we set earlier, 76. Allow access. There you go. So it is working now. It is configured, and hit enter. Hit enter. The outer format will be JSON, and the region will be EU North 1 for me, but in your case it can be the nearest one from your place. And administrator access with this number is the user profile name. So I hit enter, and now let's check if this user is configured or not. Copy this command and paste it, hit enter. Then you should be seeing this CDK user, which means that your user is configured now. Next, what we will be doing is we'll be checking few things for this identity center setting. In the identity center setting, you go to the setting and you check this authentication, and in the session duration you can decide like what kind of setting you want. So here user interactive session, which means if this session duration is set to 8 hours, which is by default, the user stays logged in for 8 hours, and after that the user must enter his credential again in order to log back in. So you can set it to 1 hour, 2 hour, or 8 hours. So this is the default one. I just leave it as it is. And user background session, So which means you start a job. For example, lambda function is running for 2 hours, it needs to run, and now in the meantime you can log out, or you can close your session, but the job will still continue. It is for that region. So it is by default 7 days, but of course you can configure this one also. So these are the important places for configuring the session user. I wanted to show you here, but it's okay, you don't need to make any changes there. Great. Now our AWS profile is now fully configured using Identity Center, and now we can successfully authenticate the user from our terminal, so CDK user in our case. So with that done, we are ready to install the AWS CDK toolkit now, which is the command line interface we'll be using throughout this series. And here is the documentation how to install the AWS CLI. It is very simple. We just need to copy this command, and back in the terminal you can install it globally. Since I have already installed it, I don't need to do it second time, but you, in your case, you can hit enter and it will start installing for you. And after that you can check the version to make sure it is installed. It should be version 2. Yeah, it is version 2 installed already. Great. So there are some CDK help command which can be very useful. So CDK list, we will also be using this one to list all the stacks which we have used, and CDK synth to synthesize, and CDK bootstrap. Then we will be using CDK deploy, and we'll be using CDK destroy, and yeah, these are basically the most important ones that we'll be needing and we'll be using. Yes, now that CDK is installed and working, let's create our very first CDK project. This will generate the folder structure, some starter files, and a TypeScript entry point that CDK uses. Yes, tutorials, and in order to initiate the project, here is the command. So it is cdk init app, language is TypeScript. Yeah, all done. You can check it. We can open it in VS Code. Yeah, so I'm using VS Code as a code editor. It's my preferred code editor. You can use pretty much any code editor, but yeah, this is the VS Code is very easy and simple and well integrated. That's why I use it. Here are a few things that we can take. So by default there is CDK JSON, which is one of the most important file. So this file is the actual runtime configuration file for our CDK app. So it tells CDK CLI, like when someone runs CDK synth or CDK deploy or any CDK command, so it executes this command to generate CloudFormation template. And yeah, any we can also use any custom key values, the key value pair in the context object, inside the context object, but that we will look into in a bit later. It is kind of this file is kind of package.json file for React or Next.js projects. Yeah, and the main entry point here is mentioned here. This is the app, which is the main entry point, and when you run CDK command, it will execute this TypeScript file. Yeah, let's check other files and folders. You can check this package station, and this is the AWS CDK library version 2, and the other more important files are leaf folder and bin folder. So the leaf folder is the place where we create the actual stacks. For example, this is one of the stacks that comes by default when we initiated this project. So tutorial stack, it adds this tutorial, the folder name, and it appended with this the word stack, but of course it can be anything, because this is coming by default, so it is just using this our folder name along with the stack. Yeah, and this is the tutorial stack, which we create all the stacks in library in the leaf folder, not library but leaf folder. But then this stack, for example, this tutorial stack, which will be then imported here in the app, and then the CDK app will understand this is the tutorial stack. So when we are deploying stack, then we are deploying this stack, and here the names are pretty much the same, but you can give any name, making it like bit identical and recognizable. So we use the same name here. So you initialize the tutorial stack as it is, and then you give a name for this stack. Yes, so we are pretty much done. Our project structure is ready, and before we can deploy anything, we need to bootstrap our AWS environment. So it will create resources, but we don't need to pay anything for that. It is just for the AWS purpose, to understand CDK project which we will create. And remember, bootstrapping is only done once per account and region. So in my case, I have already done bootstrapping, so I don't need to do it again. But in your case, you can do it just like this: CDK bootstrap AWS and your account number and the region, which region you are in. I'm using this EU North one. It is the closest region for me. And then test as profile, and you can use the profile name cdk-user. Yeah, and that's it. So once you hit enter here, you will see that there will be a cloud formation going on in the AWS console. You can check cloud formation. Yes, I can see this now. Yeah, so in your case, you can use any region, and you will be seeing it there. In my case, I'm using Stockholm, EU northern one region, so I have bootstrapped for this region and for this user, so I can see the CDK toolkit. It is created and it is complete. Yeah, so this is just done only once for account and region, and we don't need to do it again. What we do next is we create our first CDK stack. So let's go to VS Code, and actually the CDK stack is already here, but it is actually not doing anything right now. So we can create our own CDK stack. So we can create CDK first s3 stack.ts, and here we are going to create our first AWS resource s3 bucket. So let's import CDK and then construct and the bucket itself. Okay, we can import all a CDK from AWS CDK live. We can import CDK like this, and then we can import construct, and we can import it from construct itself. Yes, construct. We import bucket also. Okay, bucket from AWS CDK live slash AWS S3 bucket. So I would like to tell you something, how you know how to import things, for example bucket or function or anything. Then there is this documentation, AWS CDK documentation. So I will also give you this link. All you have to do is search for example S3 bucket. Yeah, I have one already there, AWS S3. Go there and check this overview, and there you will see this AWS CDK live. So this is the main module, and what we are going to import from here is AWS S3. So AWS-CDK-live slash AWS S3. Remember, they have written AWS _ S3, and when we actually import this in TypeScript, it will be AWS S3. So we can see it here, AWS S3. It is not underscore, it is dash. Okay, so we can create a class with the same name as the file name here. So it is CDK first S3. I can keep this small stack, and it extends CDK stack, and now we create the construct. So with the scope, ID as a string, and props. So, and the props would be CDK stack props. Yes, CDK stack props. Okay, that's fine. And then super scope ID, and so put everything, the parameters defined here in the construct. So what we will be doing here is we'll create simple and deletable S3 bucket. Okay, so let's make a bucket, and new bucket. So instantiate this bucket which we have imported up there, and so you can give this bucket any name. Yeah, CDK bucket. Okay, and now you can create an object, and so you can also, VS Code also gives you this IntelliSense, so what you are trying to type, and this should be actually very unique, so bucket name is always unique. It should be like universal unique bucket demo. Then we can keep some dynamic variable name. It can be anything. CDK AWS account ID, so it will recognize, it will add this account ID to this bucket CDK bucket demo, and this way it will create a unique bucket name. But if you don't want this one, you can pretty much put anything here, so that is also fine. And version is mentioned false, and then removal policy also policy, and yeah, so removal policy and dot destroy. Now it is correct. So this IntelliSense is very helpful sometimes. Auto delete object is true, so we can delete this bucket even if there is something else inside the bucket. So this is the construct. So new bucket, so we instantiate this bucket, and then we provide a name, but the bucket name will be this one, and there is no versioning, and removal policy is destroy. So when CDK destroy, it will destroy. So next we can also check the output when we deploy this, and when the deployment is successful, so we'll be seeing some outputs in the terminal. And for that, outputs something like if an output, and what it will output is anything. We can put anything there, and this is also an object. And now what are the things that will be output? Value, it outputs this value. Let's put it to a bucket name, bucket dot, we can put bucket ARN or bucket name or anything there. So bucket name, and how do we describe it? There is description, we can describe it. S3, that's it. Yeah, of course we can also output the bucket ARN just the same way. Output bucket name, output bucket ARN, bucket ARN. Let's also fix these names, bucket name output and bucket ARN output. Yes, that's it. Then you can copy this stack, and yeah, you can import it here. Yes, and then don't forget to import it. Cool. Now this is done, and we want to synthesize only this stack. We don't want to synthesize this one, which is actually pretty much empty. So CDK synthesize this stack. If our code is correct, it will synthesize without complaining. Yeah,
So you can see what are different AWS resources it's going to create. Now the synthesize is okay, so we can now deploy the same stack. CDK deploy the same stack. So behind the scene, the CDK does few things. It starts a CloudFormation template. Yeah, it is asking you want to continue with all these changes. Yes. And now CloudFormation, and then it builds the resources in the AWS. Yeah, you can see. So initially we had the CDK toolkit, which is by default. When we bootstrapped the CDK application, it came there. Yeah, and then so when we just now CDK deploy, it created, and it says that create complete. So you can check there are so many things happening here. You can check the resources it creates. Yeah, so what we did, we created OS3 bucket with a given name, so we can check and confirm if it is created or not. Yes, you can see CDK bucket demo, so this is the one created. That's it. And now everything is okay. I don't need to pay any bills to AWS, so I can simply CDK destroy, and I can destroy the stack. So when we hit this destroy, we can check in CloudFormation. It will start, the work will continue there, but we have to confirm from here, and then the delete will be in progress. Now we can refresh it. Yeah, the delete in progress. So once the delete is complete, we will not be able to see this S3 bucket. In fact, this bucket is already gone. Yeah, this is the default one, but the one which we just created with this name, so this is gone. Yes, and let's check. Yeah, so this stack is destroyed. Yeah, so I think we cover pretty much everything that we wanted to cover in this series. And next up we'll also see how we can use this IAM user instead of AWS Identity Center.
Go ahead and create an IAM user. Users, create user, CDK demo user, and this time we'll provide this AWS Management Console access. This is important, and this specify a user in Identity Center recommended, and this we have already done earlier. Instead we are switching onto this. I want to create an IAM user. Let's let it auto generate the password, and here here are a few options, permission options. So add user to group, you can do to it so that you can add this user to admin group, and it has already administrator access. So which means if you add this user to admin group, the user will have administrator access. And it is important in our case that we have to give administrator access to this user. But we can also copy some permissions from other users. For example, demo user is another user, and it has already this administrator access policy attached. So if you can associate with this user, it is also fine. And you can also optionally create a new permission. Let's do this one. Let's attach this administrator access, and that is all it needs. This is the most powerful access, because with this policy the user is able to do pretty much anything in the AWS infrastructure. So next, yeah, so we can review it. Administrator access, create a user, return to user list, continue, and CDK demo user is the one. So here we need to have those access keys. So this is the place. You just click it to create access keys. Why do we need it? Is for CLI command. Okay, I understand. Next, create access key. Yeah, and this is the one. So what we need to do is either we can copy it from here or we can download also. So let's download, and also we can see it from here. We have to copy this and create a AWS credential in AWS credential file. So what we can do is we can go here and probably at the end we can write the name for this user. So we can give any name, CDK demo user, yes, and just like here we can have this AWS access key ID, and it will have the value, and also AWS secret access key in its value, and we can also provide the region. Since I'm close to this data center, so I will mention this one. Okay, and now we can provide this AWS access key ID. Like so, and secret access key. Yes. Okay, and that's it. Yeah, so just save it and hit enter. Okay, so this step is done, and now configure this this user. AWS configure profile, and it is CDK demo user. Okay, it should find it from there. It has already populated the access key and secret access key. Yeah, this one is also correct, and output format is JSON. That's it. We have just now configured the new user, CDK demo user. What we can do next is follow the same steps that we did earlier. We can synthesize this. Okay, we can deploy the same stack. All right, we can give permission. Okay, and it will go ahead and create this cloud formation. Yeah, okay, create in progress. Let's refresh, because it's a very tiny stack, so it should not take a long time. Yep, it is done. Yeah, create complete. So we can check this S3 bucket. Yeah, so CDK bucket demo, that is it. We don't have anything to do further inside this bucket, so we don't need to pay any money to AWS, so we can simply destroy the same stack. Okay, yes, I agree. And again, cloud formation, delete in progress. Remember, you need to be on your region, so if you are anywhere else, then you may not see anything, because I have bootstrapped for this region, so I will be seeing the cloud formation happening here. So delete in progress. Okay, so delete happen, and let's check the bucket just to make sure, and it is gone. Yeah, that is it for today's setup video. We installed the AWS CLI, configured Identity Center, installed the CDK toolkit, created our first CDK project also, and we also bootstrapped our AWS environment. So from here, everything is ready for us to start building real infrastructure with CDK. In the next video, we'll create group users, manage policy, and attach policy to groups. So some users of a group has like full access to the S3, while others don't have access. So this is something we will see in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.